There is a kind of silence that is not empty. It's a weighted, textured thing that fills a room, pressing on your chest. It's the silence of a phone that hasn't lit up, the silence of a conversation that ended too soon, the silence of a man who is physically present but emotionally miles away, behind a glass wall you can't seem to break through. This silence is not the absence of sound. It is a sound in itself. It has a frequency, a pitch that only your nervous system can detect. It can be louder than an argument, more definitive than a goodbye. You find yourself listening to it, trying to decipher its grammar, its intent. Is it anger? Is it indifference? Is it a punishment? Or is it, as a small, hopeful part of you whispers, a sign of a struggle so deep he has no words for it? Your friends, with the best of intentions, will tell you to forget him. They'll say, his silence is an answer. And on a logical level, you know they might be right. But logic has no jurisdiction here. This is the realm of the psyche, of the soul, where absence can feel like a haunting presence. Your body knows the story isn't over, not because of a promise, not because of a plan, but because the energy between you has not yet been resolved. It hangs in the air, a question mark made of silence. You replay conversations, searching for the moment the shift happened. You analyze his last words, his last look. You become a detective of micro-expressions, an archaeologist of digital crumbs. But the more you search for clues outside of yourself, the louder his silence becomes inside you. It begins to colonize your thoughts, dictating your moods. A good day can be shattered by the non-event of a non-message. Your own life starts to feel like an intermission, a waiting room where the only event that matters is his return. This is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that a profound psychological process has been activated. His distance has unlocked a door deep within you, a door you may not have even known was there. And what's coming through that door is not just about him. It's about you. It's about a pattern, a wound, and an opportunity for a kind of self-reclamation you never expected. The agony of his silence is a call from your own psyche to finally listen to a different sound, the sound of your own unmet needs, your own buried power. The paradox is this: the key to understanding his silence is to stop trying to listen to it, and to start understanding why it has become so loud to you in the first place. This is where most people get it wrong. They believe the dynamic is simple. One person pulls away, the other chases. One is cold, the other is needy. But this is only the surface story, the visible choreography of a much deeper, unconscious dance. From a Jungian perspective, what is happening is far more complex. It's a collision of projections, a dance of shadows, and a desperate defense of the ego against a perceived threat. The first uncomfortable truth is that a significant part of what you are hearing in his silence is an echo. It's the sound of your own fears, your own history, your own expectations being projected onto the blank screen of his absence. Carl Jung called this phenomenon projection. It's an unconscious process where we attribute parts of ourselves, our hopes, our fears, our unresolved inner conflicts, onto another person. When a connection is intense and the other person suddenly becomes a void, that void does not remain empty for long. The psyche abhors a vacuum. It rushes to fill the space with its own content. His silence becomes a canvas, and you, without realizing it, become the artist, painting it with the colors of your deepest anxieties. The fear of abandonment, the fear of not being good enough, the fear that you are, ultimately, unlovable. Think of it like a room where a projector is running. The projector is your own unconscious mind. The film it's playing is a story stitched together from your past experiences with love, attachment, and loss. He simply left the room and turned off the lights, leaving a blank white wall. Now, in the dark, your projector is casting its movie onto that wall, and it looks so real, so vivid, that you believe you are watching him, when in fact, you are watching a story about yourself. His silence becomes proof that he finds you lacking. His distance becomes evidence that he has found someone else. His lack of communication is interpreted as a deliberate, cruel act of withholding. But are you responding to him? the actual, complex, flawed human being? Or are you responding to the character in your inner film, the one who always leaves, the one who confirms your deepest fear? This is why advice like, just text him, or give him a taste of his own medicine, so often fails. It's addressing the movie on the screen, not the projector running the film. You are trying to reason with a shadow on the wall. The real work, the work that actually shifts the dynamic, begins when you have the courage to turn around and look at the projector. To ask, what film is playing inside me? Where did I first learn this story? Why is this particular silence so resonant with a fear that feels ancient? A fear that was there long before he was. This is not to say his behavior is meaningless or that you are imagining everything. His withdrawal is real. It is an action or a non-action that has a cause. But the volume of that silence, its power to destabilize your entire emotional world, is amplified 1,000 times by the power of your own projection. Until you withdraw that projection, you are not in a relationship with him. You are in a relationship with your own fear, and he is simply the screen it's playing on. So, the first step is not to decode him. It is to acknowledge the film, to sit in the quiet of your own being and admit, this feeling is terrifying. This silence feels like abandonment, and this feeling, in its essence, is familiar. I have felt a version of this before. In that simple, honest admission, you take the first step out of the audience and into the projection booth. You begin to reclaim your power. But this is only one side of the equation. To truly understand the dynamic, we must have the courage to look behind his wall of silence. What is it protecting? Why would a man who showed interest, who is present and engaged, suddenly retreat into a fortress of quiet? The common assumption is that his silence is a display of power or a sign of indifference, and sometimes it can be. But more often than not, especially in connections that felt genuine and deep, his distance is not a sign of strength, but of profound fear. It is the ego's desperate attempt to protect a part of himself that feels overwhelmingly vulnerable. In Jungian psychology, every man has an inner feminine aspect, the anima. The anima is not about femininity in a stereotypical sense. It is the archetype of life, relationship, and emotion. It is the bridge to his own soul, his capacity for deep connection, feeling, and intimacy. For many men, raised in cultures that prize stoicism and emotional control, the anima is a repressed and underdeveloped part of their psyche. They are taught that vulnerability is weakness, that emotion is messy, and that true strength lies in being invulnerable, in control, and self-sufficient. When a man feels a powerful connection with a woman, it's not just his conscious mind that is engaged. His unconscious is activated. The woman, often without knowing it, becomes a mirror for his own repressed anima. In her presence, he feels things he has not allowed himself to feel. He feels a pull towards a depth of connection that is both intoxicating and terrifying. This is the critical juncture. Part of him yearns for this connection, for the wholeness it promises. But his ego, the conscious identity he has built around being strong, independent, and in control, sees this as a mortal threat. To the ego, the pull of the anima, the call to intimacy, feels like a threat of dissolution. It feels like being engulfed, losing control, being overwhelmed by a tidal wave of emotion it does not know how to navigate. And so, the ego does what it is designed to do. It defends. And one of the ego's most powerful defense mechanisms is distance, silence, withdrawal. He builds a wall, not necessarily to push you away, but to protect himself from the intensity of what you awaken in him. He is not running from you. He is running from the part of himself that you reflect back to him. His silence is a symptom of his own inner conflict. It's the battle between his soul's longing for connection, his anima, and his ego's terror of losing control. He might not even be conscious of this. On the surface, he might tell himself he's busy, that he needs space, or that things were getting too intense. These are the rationalizations the ego provides to mask a much deeper, unconscious fear, the fear of love itself, the fear of being truly seen, because being truly seen means his carefully constructed persona of invulnerability might crumble, revealing the tender, uncertain, and yearning soul beneath. This is his shadow at play. The shadow, in Jungian terms, contains all the parts of ourselves we have repressed or disowned. For many men, the shadow contains their vulnerability, their neediness, their fear, and their dependency. When you get close, you shine a light on this shadow, and his instinctive reaction is to slam the door shut. The silence is the sound of that door slamming. Understanding this does not excuse his behavior. It does not make the pain of being on the receiving end of that silence any less real, but it does reframe it. It shifts the narrative from, "He doesn't care about me," to, "He is terrified of what I make him feel." It moves from a story of rejection to a story of fear. He is caught in a trap of his own making. He wants the water of life that you represent, but he is afraid of drowning in it. His distance is the sound of him retreating to the dry land of his own emotional desert, where it is safe, but where nothing can grow. This is the tragedy of it. He creates the very distance that prevents him from receiving the connection he unconsciously craves. And you, on the other side of the glass wall, are left feeling the chill, mistaking his fear for a verdict on your worth. Now we arrive at the most difficult and most important part of this journey. We've looked at your projection. We've looked at his fear. But the question remains, why does this specific dynamic have such a powerful hold on you? Why does his retreat trigger such a profound crisis in your own soul? Other women might get angry, shrug, and move on. But for you, it has become an obsession, a wound that won't stop bleeding. The reason lies in what Jung called a complex. A complex is a cluster of emotionally charged ideas, memories, and feelings in the unconscious, usually stemming from early life experiences. When a situation in the present resembles the original circumstances that formed the complex is activated, and it floods our conscious mind with its powerful emotions. For many women who find themselves mesmerized by a man's silence, the underlying engine is an activated abandonment complex. This doesn't mean you were literally abandoned as a child. It could be subtler. It could be the experience of having a parent who was physically present but emotionally unavailable. A parent who was inconsistent with their affection, who withdrew love as a form of punishment, or who was so preoccupied with their own issues that you learned, on a deep, pre-verbal level, that love is precarious. You learn that you have to work for it, earn it, and constantly monitor the other person's mood to ensure they don't disappear. In this environment, you may have developed a persona, a social mask, of the good girl, the easygoing partner, the understanding woman. You learn to be endlessly patient, to ask for little, to attune yourself to the needs of others while suppressing your own. Your survival strategy was to become whatever you needed to be to keep the connection, to prevent the other person from pulling away. Beneath this capable, understanding persona, however, lives a terrified inner child who believes that if she makes one wrong move, expresses one unacceptable need, or fails to be perfect, she will be left alone. Now, fast forward to this man. He pulls away. He goes silent. And instantly, without your conscious consent, the abandonment complex is triggered. It's not just him, the adult man, who has become distant. In the theater of your unconscious, it is your parent who is withdrawing their love. It is the original wound being torn open again. The panic that rises in your chest is not just about losing a potential partner. It is an echo of an old existential terror of being left, of being unworthy of consistent love. This is why you can't just let it go. The complex demands resolution. It hijacks your rational mind and forces you to focus all your energy on solving the problem, on getting him to come back, to break the silence, to give you the reassurance that the terrified child inside you craves. You start chasing, not because you are desperate, but because your unconscious is running a program that says, chase, fix, appease, or you will be abandoned. This is your shadow coming into the light. The shadow of the woman who waits. The shadow of the part of you that feels she has to perform an audition for love. Your conscious persona is the independent modern woman who doesn't need a man. But his silence calls forth the shadow self, the one who sits by the phone, her self-worth hanging by the thread of his validation. Seeing this is both painful and liberating. It's painful because you have to confront the depth of your own wound, but it is liberating because you finally understand that your reaction is not about him. He is merely the catalyst. The immense power this situation holds over you comes from your own history. He did not create the wound, he just poured salt in it. The question then shifts from the powerless, "Why is he doing this to me?" to the powerful, "What is this situation showing me about myself? What old story is being reenacted here? What part of me is still waiting for a love that has to be earned?" This is the beginning of true freedom. When you realize you are not fighting for him, but are instead wrestling with a ghost from your own past, the entire landscape changes. The power is no longer in his hands. It is, and always has been, in yours. If this exploration names something you have never been able to say out loud, take a moment. Not for anyone else, but for yourself. Write down a single sentence that captures this recognition. Perhaps it's, "I've been waiting for a long time," or "My fear of being left is older than this relationship." Acknowledging the pattern is the first step to breaking it. So where do we go from here? We have seen the three threads of this tangled knot: your projection, his fear, and your own activated complex. The temptation is to use this knowledge as a new strategy to get him back, to think, now that I understand he's afraid, I can be extra reassuring. Now that I know I'm projecting, I'll stop, and then he'll feel safe to return. This is the mind's final trick. It's the ego trying to co-opt deep psychological insight and turn it into another tool for control, another way to audition for his love. But the true path to transformation lies in a radical act of surrender. Not surrendering to him, but surrendering the need to control the outcome. The real turning point is not when he breaks his silence, but when you change the meaning of your own. Up until now, your silence has been a reaction. It's been a tense, watchful waiting, a holding of breath, a form of protest, or a strategic move in a game you feel you are losing. It is a silence that is entirely focused on him. It is loud, with unspoken questions, with need, with hope, and with pain. The transformation begins when your silence stops being about him and starts being about you. It shifts from a silence of waiting to a silence of returning. This is not the no-contact rule used as a tactic. This is a sacred, energetic withdrawal. You are not cutting him off to punish him. You are lovingly calling your own energy back home, because it has been leaking out, trying to power a connection that is currently a closed circuit. Imagine all the mental and emotional energy you've been spending, analyzing, worrying, hoping, hurting. It's a massive amount of life force. Now, imagine consciously redirecting that river of energy away from the glass wall of his silence and turning it back towards yourself. What does this look like in practice? It means you stop checking your phone as if it were a life support machine. You put it down, and you walk into another room of your own life. You pick up a book you've been meaning to read. You call a friend and talk about something other than him. You go for a walk and focus on the feeling of the sun on your skin, the sound of the leaves, the rhythm of your own breathing. Each time the thought of him and his silence arises, and it will, you don't fight it. You don't shame yourself for it. You simply acknowledge it, like a cloud passing in the sky, and gently guide your attention back to the present moment, back to your own body, back to your own life. This is an act of profound self-respect. You are communicating to yourself, on the deepest level, that your peace of mind is more important than his validation. Your present moment is more valuable than a potential future with him. Your life is happening now, not in some imaginary future when he finally decides to text. Something remarkable happens when you do this consistently. The silence, which was once so deafening, begins to lose its volume. It's still there, but it no longer has the power to hijack your nervous system. The sound of your own life, your work, your passions, your friendships, your inner world, starts to become louder, more interesting, more compelling. The glass wall he erected becomes less of a prison and more of an irrelevant object in the distance. You stop staring at it, and you start redecorating your own room. This is the process Carl Jung called individuation. It is the journey of becoming a whole, individual self, separate from the projections of others and the demands of our own complexes. It is withdrawing our hooks from the outside world and finding our center of gravity within. The question everyone asks at this point is, but will he come back? And here is the deepest truth. By the time you have truly returned to yourself, that question will no longer be the most important one. The obsession will have dissolved. The desperate need for his validation will have been replaced by a quiet, solid sense of your own worth. But let's explore the possibilities. If a man's distance was driven by a fear of being engulfed by the intensity of your connection, your withdrawal of that intense, focused energy can, paradoxically, make him feel safe enough to move forward. Your silence, now calm and self-possessed, is no longer a needy cry he has to manage. It is a quiet statement of dignity. He feels the absence of your projection, the lack of pressure, and it gives him the space to confront his own feelings without the fear of being overwhelmed. He may begin to miss not your neediness, but your essence. He may feel the pull of his own anima again, and this time, his ego may not feel so threatened. He might reach out. If he does, he will not be met by the anxious, waiting woman he left behind. He will be met by a woman who is grounded in her own life, a woman whose happiness is not contingent on his presence, a woman who is interested, but not invested in a way that requires her to abandon herself. She can engage with him from a place of wholeness, not from a place of lack. The dynamic is forever changed. She will not tolerate inconsistent presence and emotional unavailability, not because she is playing a game, but because she has come to value her own peace too much to sacrifice it again. And what if he doesn't return? If he doesn't, the silence will eventually become complete, not a loud, painful silence, but a quiet, peaceful one. It will be the sound of a chapter that is naturally closed. The pain will subside, and in its place will be a profound gratitude, not for him, but for what his absence taught you. His distance was the unintentional gift that forced you to embark on the most important journey of all, the journey back to yourself. You will have healed a piece of your abandonment wound. You will have integrated a part of your shadow. You will have discovered a strength and a self-reliance you didn't know you possessed. You will have learned that the love you were so desperately seeking from him was a distorted reflection of the love you needed to give to yourself. You will have proven to yourself that you can survive being left, and not just survive, but thrive. You will have become your own safe harbor. Either way, you win. The goal was never to capture him. The goal was to liberate yourself. His silence was the catalyst, but the transformation is all yours. The glass wall either dissolves because he walks through it into a new, healthier dynamic, or it dissolves because you simply turn around and walk away into the vast, open landscape of your own life. My silence is not a tactic. It is my return to myself. And this return is not just a mental decision. It is a physical, cellular event. It is a change in the very memory of your body. Let's talk about that body memory, the silent keeper of your history. When the abandonment complex is triggered, it's not just a thought, it's a full-body experience. Notice it without judgment. There's the tightness in your throat, as if unshed tears from childhood are stored there. There's the hollow ache in your solar plexus, the energetic center of self, which now feels like a black hole, demanding to be filled by his validation. Your breathing becomes shallow, stuck in your upper chest, a constant state of low-grade panic, of fight or flight. Your body is physically bracing for impact, the impact of being left. This is body memory. It remembers the feeling of emotional danger long before your conscious mind can label it. The process of calling your energy back is therefore a somatic one. It is about teaching your body, on a physical level, that it is safe now, even in his absence. It begins with your breath. When you feel the wave of anxiety rise, the urge to check your phone, the familiar ache of his silence, stop. Place a hand on your belly, and consciously, deliberately, take a deep breath that travels all the way down, past your chest, and into your abdomen. Feel your belly rise. Then, exhale slowly, longer than the inhale. Do this 3 times. In this simple act, you are sending a powerful signal to your nervous system. You are moving it from the sympathetic state of fight or flight to the parasympathetic state of rest and digest. You are telling your body, we are not in danger, we are not being abandoned, we are safe right here in this moment. This is not a mental trick, it is a physiological intervention. You are reparenting your own nervous system. From the breath, you move to grounding. Feel your feet on the floor. Really feel them. The texture of the carpet, the coolness of the tile. Wiggle your toes. Imagine roots growing from the soles of your feet deep into the earth. This is you, anchoring yourself in your own reality, in the solid ground of your own being. His silence creates a feeling of floating in a terrifying void. Grounding is the act of remembering that you are not in a void. You are on solid earth, held and supported. These small, somatic acts, repeated over and over, begin to rewrite the body memory. The ache in your chest begins to be filled not by his presence, but by the warmth of your own deep, centered breath. The anxiety in your stomach is soothed by the feeling of being grounded and stable. You are slowly, patiently, teaching your body that safety and wholeness are generated from within. You are no longer outsourcing that job to him. As this internal shift solidifies, you will notice concrete changes in your inner world. The frantic thought loops, what is he thinking? Where is he? Who is he with? Begin to quiet down. They may still appear, but they no longer have the same magnetic pull. You can observe them without becoming them. A new question begins to emerge, quietly at first, then more insistently. What do I need right now? Not what you need from him, what you, in your own body and soul, need in this present moment. Do you need rest? Do you need to move your body? Do you need creative expression? Do you need the comfort of a true friend? You start tending to your own garden instead of staring at his locked gate. This is the integration of your shadow. The needy, waiting woman inside you is not an enemy to be vanquished. She is a part of you that holds immense energy, the energy of deep devotion, of powerful focus, of incredible sensitivity. By turning your attention inward, you are not killing her. You are giving her a new, sacred purpose. Her hypervigilance, once directed at monitoring his every move, is now repurposed to become a profound attunement to your own inner state. Her capacity for devotion is redirected into devotion to your own growth, your own peace, your own path. You have taken the lead from that terrified inner child and given it to your wise, adult self. And then comes the moment that feels like the final exam, the test. After a period of your true, self-possessed silence, a week, a month, maybe longer, your phone lights up. It's his name. In the past, this moment would have sent a jolt of triumphant, anxious electricity through you. Your heart would pound, your mind would race. He's back! It worked! But now, something is different. Yes, there is still a flicker of the old response, a jolt of adrenaline, a quickening of the pulse. The body remembers. But it's no longer an overwhelming tidal wave. It's a ripple, and beneath it is a deep, calm ocean. You look at his name on the screen, and you don't react. You observe. You observe the ripple of adrenaline in your own body. You observe the temptation of the old story, the one that says, your worth has just been validated. And you breathe. You place your hand on your belly and take one conscious, grounding breath. You don't reply immediately, not as a game, but because you are no longer a puppet on the string of his attention. You are in your own center. You finish the email you were writing. You finish your cup of tea. You give yourself 5 minutes, not to craft the perfect, clever response, but to allow the adrenaline to settle and to reconnect with your own inner calm. This is the test. Not whether he texted, but whether you can hold your center when he does. The test is for you, not for him. When you do choose to reply, your energy is completely different. The message isn't bubbling with frantic questions or passive-aggressive jabs. It's simple, calm, and open. Something like, "Hey, nice to hear from you. Hope you're well." There is no subtext of, Where have you been? There is no desperation. It is the energy of a woman who is genuinely getting on with her life, who is open to connection but not dependent on it. You are not putting on a performance of being unbothered. You are unbothered because your peace is no longer up for negotiation. If a conversation unfolds, you become an observer. You are no longer auditioning for the role of his girlfriend. You are interviewing him for the role of a partner in your life, a life that is now full and satisfying on its own. You listen to his words, but more importantly, you feel his energy. Is he present? Is he accountable? Or is he offering crumbs, testing to see if you are still waiting by the door? The old you would have accepted any excuse, any crumb, just to have the connection back. The new you values her peace more than his presence. You might ask a gentle, direct question, not from a place of accusation, but from a place of clarity. It felt like you disappeared for a while. What was that about for you? His response to this question will tell you everything you need to know. If he is defensive, vague, or tries to blame you, you will feel it in your body as a clenching, a sense of unease. That is your inner guidance system telling you the pattern has not changed. This is not safe ground. And you will have the strength to lovingly, calmly walk away. Not with drama, but with the quiet dignity of someone who chooses peace over turmoil. But if he responds with honesty, with vulnerability, with a degree of self-awareness, perhaps saying, "I was overwhelmed," or "I got scared," then you have new information. It doesn't mean you dive back in. It means a door has opened for a new kind of conversation. But you proceed with caution, with your feet firmly planted on the ground of your own self-worth, watching to see if his actions align with his words over time. The test isn't passed in one conversation. It's passed in the consistency that follows. Either way, you have already won. Because the victory was never in getting him back. The victory was in getting yourself back. His reappearance simply becomes the final confirmation of your own transformation. You have faced the ghost in the machine, and you have discovered that the power switch was in your hand all along. The journey that began in the agonizing echo of his silence has led you here. Not to a place of having solved him, but to a place of having found yourself. The silence was a dark mirror, and in it you were forced to see everything you had been running from. Your deepest fears, your oldest wounds, and ultimately, your most resilient strength. You may never know the full story of his retreat. The intricate dance of his ego, his anima, and his shadow may remain a mystery, and you will find that you are okay with that. The need to know, the need to understand, was part of the old obsession. Your new focus is on understanding yourself. The silence that once felt like a punishment now feels like a passage. It was a harsh and lonely initiation, but it initiated you into a more profound intimacy with your own soul. You learn to sit in the empty room and not feel empty. You learn to fill the space with your own presence, your own breath, your own life. So let his silence be what it is. A sound, a signal, a story that belongs to him. You have learned to listen to a different frequency now, the steady, quiet rhythm of your own heart, the hum of your own life force, no longer leaking out in search of validation, but circulating within you, nourishing you. This is the real sound of love, not the frantic chase for a connection that might complete you, but the peaceful discovery of a wholeness that was there all along. The glass wall is gone, not because he broke it, but because you turned away from it and walked into the world that was waiting for you, a world that begins and ends, always, with you.